Greetings from Costa Rica. I hope you're doing well. This is Matt Rosensteel with Coldwell Banker Pacific Realty, here for a special Thursday afternoon chat. We're usually live on Sundays with a different topic about moving to Costa Rica or the Costa Rica real estate market. This past Sunday, we were unable to broadcast due to some community issues that we were handling. And today, I'm showing our interview with Shelley and Jason. Shelley and Jason 2 months ago took the big plunge. They've moved to Costa Rica, not only with themselves, but they've brought along a 7 and 2-year-old, I believe, are their two kids' ages. They've invested in a pre-construction home in a project called Tamarindo Park. Now, Tamarindo Park is a couple blocks from the beach in Tamarindo and is a really nice location that puts you right downtown. It's one of these gated communities that honestly had stagnated at the end of the financial crash in 2010. And recently, developers, I think a year or two ago, had reinitiated Tamarindo Park and started moving forward. Shelley and Jason are in the process of their pre-construction home, I think, is a few months along the way. Today, I'm going to show an interview with them where we touch on what it's been like to move to Costa Rica with kids. We'll briefly touch on the construction of their home and how they're feeling overall about the project. And we are also going to talk to the Tamarindo Park sales representative, Pia, about their vision for the project and what they're doing there. My sincere apologies. It's been so hectic lately. I haven't even had time to shave. That's why it's 4 p.m. and I already have my 5 o'clock shadow. I really appreciate you joining me today to hear from Shelley and Jason, the Greens who have just moved down to Costa Rica. Let's see what they have to say about what it's like so far moving down here and getting adapted to Costa Rica life. Recorded from construction.
3,000
being built. Okay. We'll just ask about that in general. So I'll just edit all that out.
Okay, sorry about that.
No problem. Jason and Shelley are joining me from Potrero. They've been in Costa Rica now 9 weeks as their project in Tamarindo Park is being built. Thanks very much for joining me to give an update on your progress here. How are things so far in Potrero? Tell me about your living situation in your long-term rental.
Yeah, we're in a 3-bedroom apartment that we right in Surfside, and it's a pretty new building, and we've been really pretty comfortable here. We're happy.
Good. And this is something that you lined up through a friend of a friend, or did you go through Airbnb?
Yeah, I sort of tried the Airbnb route and didn't find a ton of options. We found this through word of mouth. You know, that's what everyone said before we came down. Everything's word of mouth. And we happened to be here visiting Tamarindo Park and found this place that way while we were visiting. So we lined this up in advance of coming back to Costa Rica. We got kind of lucky with it.
And when you say lucky, I know a lot of people are struggling to find rentals out there. What kinds of rates do you think people in your situation would have to pay for a 3-bedroom, sort of in the Potrero area or one of these good expat communities?
Yeah, I think what we've heard from folks is, anywhere from $2,500 to $3,500 a month is a rough, reasonable rate depending on the place. I think one of the biggest challenges is if you're looking right now, the availability is almost zero because folks are keeping their houses empty for December, for the peak season for tourists. So the hardest part about renting seems to be just working. Like you need to rent well in advance if you want to rent through the peak season, which is why, so for us, we essentially set our lease way back in March, 6 months ago. And that's, I think, why we have a place right now, and why Shelley mentioned we're so fortunate. Again, we have other families and friends that are at go to the same school with us, and they're kind of bouncing around between Airbnbs while they try to look for more long-term availability.
Yeah, at least 6 months in advance, I think, is a great tip for people trying to book a long-term rental. If your plan is to move to Costa Rica and spend this period either, building a project or just trying out the country, and you want the months from December through April as part of a long-term lease, yeah, you have to plan almost the year beforehand, because December through April are absolutely peak times for those expat communities, tourism seasons. So how are things going? You mentioned school. You've got 2 kids who are absolutely precious. How are they adjusting to life in Costa Rica?
Their adjustment has been a lot smoother than I think we were anticipating. We were ready for some turbulence. It's a different place. The climate is different. The food is different. We have a 7-year-old who had left his friends behind. The school is immersion, so half of their class time is in Spanish, at least half. And we thought that would be, especially for the 7-year-old. We also have a 2-year-old, and she's pretty, unbothered by what language is being spoken to her. But for the older kid, we were more worried about that. And actually, they've really, really taken to it. It's been pretty surprising. The school is really incredible. They're at La Paz, Cabo Velas, and they've just really both seem extremely happy. We just had some friends come visit from the States, and they asked our son what his favorite things about Costa Rica were, and the school was the first thing he mentioned. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah, the school has, and it's also been a really great anchor point for us to meet other families, meet other parents. We were worried about feeling isolated ourselves, and how will we facilitate our kids' social lives? How will we build a social life? So in a way, I think bringing your kids with you, they've been a real advantage in kind of building our own community. And then also they've really found theirs too. It's been pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a huge aspect of moving here. First of all, that so many people, if you don't have a way to connect with a community and a reason and a network to go out and connect with, yeah, those kids are a great conduit. I mean, I remember prior to having children, Anne-Marie and I rarely went to the beach or did anything out in Costa Rica. And then the moment they were born, we started really enjoying living in Guanacaste. And now really there are connection in large part to a lot of, of our social life, because we would just sit at home being adults, with nothing else to do. And yeah, it's good to be forced out, and it definitely helps with the transition for sure. So that's great. You're making friends. You've got an immediate connection with other people. How are you feeling so far overall? You took a big plunge. You've invested substantially in a pre-construction home in Tamarindo Park. Your kids are adjusting well. How are you adjusting to the idea that you've gone all in on Costa Rica?
So I think the easiest way to answer that question is Shelley sent me a screenshot this week. There's a 40-degree difference in the weather currently between where we are now and where we're from, Seattle. And that was like the perfect piece of confirmation bias we needed, right? Yeah. There's ever a moment to be like, I think we made a good choice. It's like, yeah, right there when you see that huge gap. I mean, I think weather aside, we've also been pretty surprised. One of our jokes has been like, our biggest challenge is to find like half and half in our coffee. Like that's our one of our creature comforts at home, and like it's hard to get. Well, it's not really a thing here. So like we've been trying to recreate that. And when we told our friends that, they're like, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of problems if you're talking about cream for your coffee, you know? We had to reflect on that and be like, yeah, actually, I think that's pretty true. Like there's obviously a lot of logistical pieces you have to overcome when we made this transition, but we knew that we were ready to face it. And we spent a couple of weeks, you know, as we got here, getting kind of our resources in place, learning the lay of the land, like knowing where to go, where to get things, how to solve each of these little pieces as they come up. And I'm sure there will be tons more, but you know, after we got through that bit of learning, like we've really felt like it's exactly that. You get to the weekend, you go to the beach, like you're doing a lot of things that you're really starting to enjoy, and that's been a real pleasure.
Yeah. And remind me, how many trips had you made to Costa Rica prior to the move down here?
We've made 2, but one of them was for an extended period. So we came down and spent most of last summer down here, sort of checking it out, and then we came back to look at the property that we ended up purchasing. So it definitely felt like a little bit of a cliff jump. You know, we'd had some information, we had some idea. When we had been down here, we really didn't want to go back to the States. But it didn't, you know, and we're still fairly new into the process. But so far, I think it's aligned pretty well with our expectations. The things that we thought would be challenging have been challenging, but we felt mostly prepared for that. The things that we thought would be worth the risk have been panning out. You know, the quality of life feels really different. We're outside all the time. Our kids are outside all the time. You know, we're eating food that we really want to eat. We're meeting people who are on the same page that we're on. And we're feeling, you know, we're just feeling really, really lucky and really grateful that we took the risk.
Yeah, no, I'm very pleased that things are going so well. And I think the key points for people considering this plunge are very much that, yes, Jason and Shelley had spent a long extended stay here before they came back and then focused specifically on identifying real estate. So they did their research, and also that connection that they have, you know, this really the kids, the school, being able to plug into a community, that can be one of the biggest components that's missing for people when they come down here. And having it, I think, makes that fulfillment, you know, you're able to feel like you've got a real life and not just be sort of trying out a crazy adventure in a different country. And at the same time, you've got your kids growing up in this different place. So there's a bigger purpose and not just sort of, you know, self-gratification, but also getting something for them that's, you know, different. You know, I'm not going to say better quality, you know, just outright, but, you know, obviously with some huge advantages. One of the things, previous interview.
So we purchased in a development called Tamarindo Park down in Tamarindo. And when we purchased the lot, it was just dirt. But the developers are sort of all one package. So, you know, they have an architect, they have the construction team, they manage the whole thing. So we are building, but with very little kind of work on our end. Mostly we bought a finished product that was a render. And then they manage the manifestation of that render, all in one sort of team. So we bought a family home down there, and it's on kind of a cul-de-sac, pretty enclosed, but kind of walking distance to the beach, which we're pretty excited about.
I did a quick interview with the sales representative at Tamarindo Park so that people could get an overall idea of the project and what it features. Let's go ahead and cut for just a moment to watch my interview with Pia at Tamarindo Park to give people an idea of the vision there. This is Pia, the sales representative for Tamarindo Park, or I apologize, I probably didn't get your position title correct.
No, that's correct. So I'm like the responsible salesperson of Tamarindo Park. Yeah, correct.
Give us a quick rundown of Tamarindo Park. How many lots are there inside? What's the concept? How many homes are under construction?
Okay, so Tamarindo Park is a brand new development project here in Tamarindo. The vision of the whole project is to be more sustainable, more connecting with nature, and also integrating permaculture, regenerated agriculture, and tree farming in the whole development. We have different phases in the whole project. Currently, we are in the hilltop where we have about 35 lots with homes that are all designed by the well-known architect Richard Miller. Richard Miller has over 40 years of experience, especially like in a tropical climate, which is really, really important. And so yeah, he is part of our team. And we're working with model homes, so we're selling turnkey homes that also can be like adjusted after the personal needs of each family or each investor. And currently, as I said, we're in the first phase, where I have at the moment about 13 homes under construction. 10 are already sold. And once we have a few more homes sold, we are moving forward into our second phase, into our 37 hectares finca, which is like, finca means farm, which is surrounded by the world famous National Park Marino de la Baula. So this is like a really, really unique location that we have, bordering a national park, let you connect with nature as more as possible, right? Over there, we're going to develop a maximum of 25%, including infrastructure. So the whole vision of maintaining Mother Nature is going to be respected over there.
Yeah, no, so that's 35 lots in phase 1 here in Tamarindo Park. The hilltop, which is the neighborhood where Shelley and Jason have their home under construction. And even within that project, it seems like you've focused on one street first and doing all of the homes along it.
Correct. So we are basically now focusing on finishing the street where Jason and Shelley purchased their home. Most of the homes are also sold in this same street. However, if a client should decide to purchase a lot that is like on the other side of the hilltop, we would start the construction to go, beginning the construction over there as well, and start with the land movements with the lot right next to it as well, because the land movement is the most dusty and noisiest work. And this is the reason why we're focusing on finishing first in one street, because we don't want to have the families moving.
I'm sorry, I think that probably came into the frame.
Oh, okay.
That is real life in Costa Rica. We have no babysitters. We have no uncles and aunts that live around a lot of the expats that are here. So even if it's a day where you're filming social media content, you have to be watching your kids. So anyway, I'm sorry, I couldn't help but laughing because...
No problem.
Anyhow, in the background, you're seeing Jason there working. Continue.
No problem. So so basically we're focusing on finishing one road, so when the families are moving in, or the investors that are wanting to rent their place out, they don't have to listen to construction noises all the time.
No, that'll be super solid, and I was happy to see that for Jason and Shelley, because Tamarindo Park, being very centrally located, is fairly dense development in that you've got houses next door to each other. And obviously, if you had construction at one lot next door, it'll be great to be finished with that when they move in.
Yeah.
Now, how many people, I've seen really fast progress at Jason and Shelley's site. Do you have any idea about how many workers there are in construction on a daily basis? It seems like there's just a ton.
Yes, so for each home we have like about a crew of 10 to 15 people.
Okay.
So currently we have about 12 homes. One is like really like on a detail on the detail position right now. So it's quite a lot of workers, and we're actually going to start pretty soon also like our ocean view lots. So 3 of the ocean view lots, and so yeah, we're moving fast forward. We went under construction almost like a year and 4 months ago with the first 4 homes.
Yeah.
And currently we have 12 under construction, 4 more land movements going on. And so for each home, depending of course of the size and the personal impacts on the design, we usually need about 10 to 12 months to build a home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I've just been shocked at seeing, I'm used to, in my small community, Hunkial, most of the construction companies are boutique, smaller, mom and pop shops, relatively speaking. And you guys have just, house after house has been really moving forward, and there's a big difference between those mom and pop shops with, maybe 10 or 12 people total working for the company, and your development branch that's, cranking out 4 sites at a time. Richard Mueller is a very well-known name here in Costa Rica, and that experience is something that really made Jason and Shelley feel secure investing in Tamarindo Park. We talked to their lawyer. He's somebody who's familiar with all kinds of, the webs of people and who is who. And buying pre-construction, they had to have confidence that this wasn't some rinky-dink, fly-by-night operation, and that this was a major company. And it's so far looking very well. Everything is going smoothly. Yeah, we're super excited. We are currently also starting already to making the entrance into our finca. So we are already thinking ahead, thinking on the second phase. We're currently in the design concept of our brand new beach club. So homeowners of the hilltop and of the Tamarindo Park are going to have access to amenities such as a beach club, a brand new sunset club with ocean view, hiking trails in the finca. And if you just imagine that you have 75% of nature, and this is also like the whole concept to live nature and build around it and not compete against it. So this is a completely different lifestyle that you're going to experience over here. Well, they have, this location is great because a 4-block walk away is the center of Tamarindo, where you've got that vibrant nightlife, all the restaurants and really the party town. But this is just far enough away that we are isolated from it. The phase across the street snakes through the woods on the back of the national park. And like Pia said, they're going to develop only 25% of that, including the infrastructure. So you love to see those forested neighborhoods with lower density available. The hilltop over here has green zones laid out, but really the great feeling that you get sort of being tucked off of Tamarindo and not right downtown, I think is a huge asset that you have going for you. I mean, like the walking distance to the center of town and to the beach, to Tamarindo, and 15 minutes walk, you are like in Langosta. You have the back road of Tamarindo, which is also a super, super important aspect, especially in high season, because we are like a small town with only one road. It can get really busy, and like taking just a shortcut, it's going to make your life way easier. This back road that she mentions, Tamarindo currently only has one paved road into town, and it's a 2-lane road with some of the community's biggest businesses on either side. So you get Coke trucks parking there in the morning, you get all kinds of deliveries, you have taxis stopping, and that road can be awful to get through, especially during the peak season. There's a back way into town that nobody wants you to know about, but it comes right past Tamarindo Park. It's a dirt road, but my goodness, instead of sitting in traffic in Tamarindo, you go out this backcountry road. It's potholed during the rainy season. During the dry season, they'll come and scrape it, and it's good. But anyway, it's a lifesaver, and if you've been frustrated by Tamarindo traffic, you need to find out the secret. But anyhow, thanks very much, Pia, for all you're doing here at Tamarindo Park. We'll be checking in with her routinely as Jason and Shelley progress through their Tamarindo Park lifestyle. And back to the studio. Let's go to a quick update that Shelley and I recorded from construction so that people can see this house coming to fruition. I think, Shelley, you and I recorded this, what, about a week, 10 days ago?
Something like that, yeah, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. It's about 115 degrees outside with 3,000% relative humidity right now in Tamarindo as the clouds roll in. Shelley, we just visited the house together. It's under construction. What do you think about progress so far?
I am pretty surprised by the pace of progress. They're really moving fast, a lot faster than I anticipated, so that's exciting.
Yeah, you can see the house in the background here. They're getting up to the pour of what is the crown beam, that will hold up the second floor. They've got the guest house pretty much up and they're ready to put the roof on that. And they only broke ground, at this point? It can't be more than 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Really. And this can definitely be, I was telling Shelley as we walked around the site, this is a huge difference with a lot of the smaller construction companies. And I'm kind of jealous that they're missing out on the experience of having a build take horribly long here in Costa Rica.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, I know. Knocking on wood wherever it is. What do you think so far of the neighborhood here at Tamarindo Park?
I mean, I'm really keep being kind of pleasantly surprised. I think we've tried to keep our expectations like pretty grounded, pretty realistic, and actually they keep surpassing them. So the street's looking really nice. The other homes are looking really beautiful and similar but different, which is cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're really excited. We're excited to live here.
Yeah, one of the cool things that they've done is focused all of the first construction in one area. And so they've actually got this street that's kind of finishing up here, and you're lucky to have that becoming sort of cohesive all of a sudden, instead of it being your house, one up on the hill, one elsewhere. No, so I'm also in the same mood, feeling like it's going exceptionally well. You can see that the other houses in the project are getting finished quickly. There's not big, paused constructions. They're moving one from the next. So it's all good things to see happening at the place that you're investing so far.
It feels good too, because when we visited in person, there wasn't really much to see. So it was a lot of taking their word for it on the quality of the construction and on the quality of the finishes, and then getting to a visit now, and you can actually touch and see some of the finishes. We've had one inspection on our property done that went well, and so it's definitely a big exhale.
Yeah, for sure. No, absolutely. You can you can research the reputation of builders, you can check with references all you want, but you still took the plunge, put in a lot of money into starting this, and there's that leap of faith sort of moment where you move forward with the project. And yeah, we're both very happy to see everything going along smoothly. I love that it's a full concrete build. You can see the huge amount of steel that's being used in the site. Everything looks like they're just an organized, really large and efficient builder. So it's excellent.
Yeah.
We're not dealing with minor league players here.
We sent our inspection report to my husband's dad, who has a construction business back in the States, and it got the seal of approval from him. So that was another exhale.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Perfect. Good to hear. Let's get some beers. Tell me, is there anything you really wish you had brought that you didn't down to Costa Rica, or sort of I'm kicking myself that I didn't do this before we got here?
I've got a list. It's not long, actually. We've been pretty surprised at the what's been available. There's a few things that are a little challenging to get. Actually, the chair Shelley's sitting in is a whole story. We could do an episode on this chair. And the desk that this computer is sitting on is a very it's made out of tinfoil from Walmart and barely holding up the computer. So there's some things that we're gonna replace with more durable goods over time, especially once we move.
Yeah.
I would say, like, lovingly, one of the ones is like, we're gonna bring a salad spinner down next time we come down. Like the stupid things like kitchen appliances like that really are hard to come by, at least out in the coast here. And so it's nothing that that would really dramatically like change your life. It's just like there are some pieces where you're like, this would be really great if I had this in my kitchen or in my house somewhere, and I'll probably bring it down next time I get down here or something like that.
The things we brought that have really paid dividends were the good coffee pot, good coffee maker, and a good blender. Those are the ones that we thank the foresight that was gifted to us by previous expats that encouraged us to bring those down.
Yeah.
Those seem to be the two that we use the most and enjoy the most.
I'll happily do a Vitamix infomercial if you want. Like,
I was gonna say, but wait, there's more.
Yes, 100%.
If you bring and I was gonna say, I actually know where I could get you a salad spinner, but it's gonna be an awful quality salad spinner. Those quality kitchen gadgets, I think, are one of the absolute top items you find stuffed into expat suitcases or those black and yellow Costco bins people bring with them down to Costa Rica. So aside from that, I think also Shelley and Jason's important takeaways are that, yes, a key to success and finding fulfillment in Costa Rica can be having kids along with you because you're plugging into their school network, etc. And also that doing a good number of, spending a good number of days here in Costa Rica before just moving here is also a very good idea, as always. We'll keep in touch with them more as their project progresses, as they move in and we finish Tamarindo Park and their home there. Thanks very much for watching, folks. We'll be back to our regular live Sunday schedule this Sunday. Halloween, or October, let's see, is it the 30th actually, 11 a.m. Costa Rica time. Thanks very much for joining me, Shelley and Jason.
Thanks, Matt. Take care.
Thank you.
Before we go really quick, I got a great question in the chat on this episode. And by the way, and I think I like to just try to do it Thursday. Today is the 20th, Friday. Sorry, had little technical difficulties there. I don't know if you all could hear that, but anyhow, there was a great question about avoiding projects that fail in Guanacaste. A viewer asked about the risk that a project will just completely stop. And this was very relevant to Shelley and Jason's search because we were looking at Tamarindo Park at a time when it was just relaunching and they were sort of giving their new effort and beginning to sell lots again after a hiatus. One of the important things to understand is that a ton of projects failed in Guanacaste in 2009 and 10 because there was such a speculative bubble going on in real estate development here in the years leading up to 2009. You had everybody flying down to Costa Rica, buying farms, cutting them up, and immediately starting their dream residential development. Most of these people didn't actually have the capital to implement that development if they didn't sell properties. So 09 and 10 were horrible for developments in Guanacaste, and there was an enormous risk specifically back then because of how frenzied the development was and just how new and fresh everything was. You also saw that 12 years ago, there was a lot more risk because the real estate market wasn't quite as formal as it is now. You didn't have attorneys really who were providing the level of professionalism, due diligence, etc., that you do today. And overall, there was just a lot greater risk that a project was going to fail because obviously in the 09 and 10 crash, you had all of that capital being sucked out of Guanacaste as people, those foreign investors creating developments, lost their money. So first and foremost, in 2022, you don't have nearly as much risk quantifiably of a development going south in Guanacaste. When we were looking at Tamarindo Park, really, Shelley, Jason, and I had a conversation that I think everybody should have if you're looking at a development. First and foremost, buy what you see that day. You know, at Tamarindo Park, they have plans for additional phases, beach clubs, gyms, all kinds of stuff that will come in the future. But Shelley and Jason had to evaluate if they thought this property was worth the money that they're investing, even if all of a sudden the project did pause for whatever reason. And of course, as the economy changes, as the interest rates go up dramatically, yes, you will see a change in the market. But looking at their available options in Tamarindo and looking at exactly what Tamarindo Park is as of today, they were comfortable making their investment based on that risk scenario where, yeah, if the development paused tomorrow, where would you stand? And they decided that, yes, Tamarindo Park would be the place that they wanted to live even if the project stagnated. Now, obviously, you also have to be worried about developers and whether they'll be able to finish your project in the case that they go bust or simply have their development completely stall. It's an extremely important question to look at, really the financial viability, the reputation, and the established history that a developer has. And yes, if a developer is in their first project, if they have an absolutely new builder, if there are really a lot of unknowns around their ability to accomplish something in a bad economic scenario, you should be very wary, because Guanacaste can destroy a lot of people's business plans and take their clients, their buyers, the people building homes with them. So do be very cautious. When it came to Shelley and Jason, we were looking at a developer and a company, a team that had history, experience, capital, everything that looked good to us, that there was no risk or as little risk as possible in making the investment in Tamarindo Park. They're moving forward, and so far, so good. As I mentioned, we'll be back live this Sunday, October 30th at 11 a.m. because it's the last broadcast of the month. As always, we'll be doing our live question and answer session. We will also be doing sort of a Costa Rica news roundup for the month of October. And maybe we'll just find a little time for some laughs in there as well. So I hope to see you 11 a.m. this coming Sunday, October 30th, and then we'll be back on our regular schedule of live broadcasts. I'll also be uploading an edited video of Shelley and Jason's interview. This was a little bit rough around the edges, and we'll add some clips where you can see the home, where you can see Tamarindo Park, the street, etc. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.